Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hi, Liz.
Good
Welcome everybody
morning.
to this beautiful morning and very delightful two tarts on a journey. We were just having a little chat just before we started. Um, I guess just to get ourselves oriented and connected and engaged with each other. Um, yeah, just about the different way, yeah, the different energies that we're feeling and the different I don't know, different way of being that we're both experiencing. So how are you, Lizzie? Was
I'm really well, but just as you said that, then I actually thought that we could begin that conversation off the back of this last eclipse full moon, the start of the eclipse season, because that is also moving us into another space, I'm going to
mm,
say, another
yeah.
space.
Mm.
So, yes, I'm well, and I have to say, Launceston this morning is clear. It's been a balmy 3 degrees, but you know what? After the last few weeks of this Arctic, what they called it, weather, it has been ghastly. So I have got sun today, and I'm going to take my sound bowls out on the grass and do a recording in the sun, I think, to connect to Mother Nature.
Oh, that sounds so good. It's lovely, isn't it? And I don't think we really appreciate the beautiful weather we have, and I don't appreciate it all the time. The beautiful weather we experience up here on the Gold Coast until we're reminded of what it's like in the Arctic. In those Arctic, when those Arctic lows come across into Tasmania, it must be freezing, really cold.
Yeah, it is. And I think some people love it, but as everyone knows, I've probably spoken before, I am a sun girl, but
Yeah.
this certainly for me, I need to see the expansive sky with the sun, which I probably mentioned before, because it certainly energizes my energetic being.
Yeah.
And I need it. Otherwise, you do feel I can feel quite flat with the overcast and fogginess. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
it's beautiful. So yeah.
That's
So I
lovely.
was just saying when you were speaking, we've just come off, on Monday, uh, early hours of Monday, that beautiful, which we didn't see down here because of the ghastly weather, eclipse red
Eclipse.
moon, full moon, and it was really intense, and it was intense for a few weeks out, and it will be continued for the next 6 months, so they say, and we've got the new moon eclipse coming up at the end of this month, and it's not just about letting go of what no longer serves you. This is really pushing you on the divine destiny. It's it's oh my God, we were talking about our memories. That's where we're going with this, and I can't remember. It was there and it's gone. Oh my God, it's so funny. But this is really about karmic endings, and
Yeah.
it's about divine destiny, or what we came down here to do. So it's been very intense for many people.
Mm.
We've been seeing a lot of I'm going to say transitions from this world. We're seeing a lot of shifts energetically. I don't believe anybody could say deny that. I think it's happening very, very fast, and I think that's really going with what's going on now. But
Mm.
yeah, well, that's where I was going to start with that. And as you said, we're talking, but I'll let you.
Yeah. But
I'll
it's true,
stop rabbiting.
yeah, yeah, nothing like a good old rabbit. But it's just as you're speaking, it is that, it is this. I remembered on Tuesday, it was the ninth of September, and it's a 9 year, so it was three nines. And then, of course, three nines is 27, breaks down to a nine. So what a huge opportunity for people to celebrate endings of the old. And I think it's been so relevant for so many people in my life, and the people who come to see me. It's really amazing. I've just had quite a few people just come in and I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. I'm feeling this really horrible, intense, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as we take them to, well, what do you want? Okay, well, perhaps this feeling, this feeling that's stodgy and it holds so many memories and so much mind chatter. Look, perhaps that's a message for you. Perhaps it's calling you to say, okay, if you want this, you need to let go of that. And this is what we've been talking about. The fact that we're at that cusp of, of allowing the old to just disappear. Those of us who've been doing the work, and there are so many people around the globe who've diligently done the work. They've done inner child work, they've done cognitive behavioral therapy work, they've done all sorts of spiritual work, emotional, mental work. Let that be it. Let that be it. Let's really appreciate that, acknowledge what the work that has been put in, and then just like, okay, I'm just going to let that go because, wow, what's over here feels exciting. And that's for me, it's like I have no idea these days of what's going to happen in a day, but I know that there's a pulsing inside of me that's almost like a little magnet that's saying, come over here, come over here. I've got no idea why I'm coming over here, but I know that over there, whatever is meant to be unfolding around me will unfold and it will just come step by step. And that's what we were talking about in our in our last podcast that didn't actually make it to being posted for whatever reason.
And
But
that's beautiful. But and we were talking about that, and it just does remind me, we have done the work, and that's why we're seeing the chaos that's out there. But what I'm seeing as well, and when you're saying, what's creating, this spiritual practitioner that I am, the amount of people that are walking into this shop, the amount of conversations that I'm having about people wanting or knowing that what's going on or what's being delivered on media and that isn't right. But, and just being able to now, as never before, because I've always said, if you want to have a conversation with me, it's going to be very, very different if you're ready to go there. And, we said earlier in many podcasts that this was about letting go of victimhood. So,
yes,
those that have done the work or doing the work, we're still doing the work alongside you. Don't believe that we're done, because we're not. Otherwise, we
oh, we're
wouldn't
never
be doing
done.
this.
Yeah.
So, but we're certainly stepping up. For me now is helping people understand that if
Mm,
we can let go of the victimhood, that it's been
mm,
happening to us and not for us,
mm.
and that um and letting go of judgment of others, because we're knowing that we're judging ourselves, and bringing it all back that we've talked about before. This is the
Mm.
culmination. This is what we're letting go of, the old. This is where the
Yeah.
true work begins. And I
Yeah.
find myself stepping into that more and more.
Wonderful. Yeah,
I'm
that's
quite
so
busy
good.
now with that aspect of the
Mm.
counseling. I'm doing 6-week courses from victimhood to remembering who you are. It's great, but that's what we're seeing. And as you said,
Yeah.
that's what we're stepping into. We're no longer being able to stay small in so many ways, or unseen doing the work behind closed doors. We're being tapped to
Yeah.
step out and now guide, not as a anything other than walking alongside of you, but to help you also activate
Mm.
and just remember. But yeah, what
Yeah, and
you're
I think
saying.
just the way that we that and that, yeah, there are those of us who have done the work and do have the realization that what we're letting go of is programming, um, and we don't need that in our infrastructure. Often we think and we don't think. Often it's just a pattern of behavior that's so familiar that we keep on doing it, because without it, it feels as if sometimes we'll just fall apart. But once we take that leap of that, just that step out, it's like, oh, okay, that feels good. And so I guess I'm speaking from the perspective of those of us who are at that point of realization. It's like, yeah, we can be the role models and walk beside people as they are coming to their own realizations, because there are so many, as you were saying, there are so many endings out there at the moment on all different levels. And it doesn't matter what perspective that you have or what perception we have, it's happening anyway, whether it's
And that
from a
perception
spiritual or whatever, that's happening.
and that perception and that realization that we have, which I'm finding,
Mm.
that's changing the goalposts daily. What I thought of yesterday, or what I understood, or what I heard or saw and thought, my God, that resonates deeply. I then the next day it's like expands you that little bit further, and it's like, oh my God, it wasn't even that. It's like, and it just so it's moving you constantly. So my perception, what I said yesterday, could be totally different from today, and
Absolutely.
it just makes me realize, people what were those words back in the day? Oh, you're forever changing your mind, or blah blah blah. And I'm just realizing that
Yeah.
now it's just simply because you're expanding so quickly and so much is happening, that what felt right yesterday with an understanding opened room and left the
Mm.
space of what we were talking about, is why we can't remember things, because we can't have the clutter in there. It
Yeah.
allows that next awareness to come in and go, wow, that makes sense. I didn't even know that, but it makes sense. So I've just answered my first own question, because we were talking before we came on about not remembering and
Yes.
forgetting things that we said yesterday or today. And we're saying, in medical paradigm, it would have been said that we were Alzheimer's or dementia. And I was saying, it's happening so much, but I can remember what I did 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago in some respects. But
Mm.
I've just
Mm.
answered that, because that's allowing that next awareness of
Mm.
what was greater than the day before to form and see it without being overwhelmed with clutter and chat. I just there. That just answered it for me.
And so eloquently as well. It's so true, because what we speak is only our opinion, and it's only our opinion of what we cognitively kind of put together in our own minds about a certain aspect of whatever.
Or what we're
So,
learning from other people out there walking the path.
yeah,
And that's what they say.
so
If it resonates,
yeah,
take it. If it doesn't, move on. But
yeah.
that's where there's people out there that are expanding rapidly, and you tap into it and you go, oh my God,
Oh,
that's the link that didn't make
yeah,
sense. And then the next, it's like, because it's been said now, the next one opens up.
yes, yeah. And there's no right and there's no wrong. And I think that's getting clearer and clearer. There is no right or wrong. There's just our perception. Our perception. So of course it's going to change all the time. I used to have the same as you. We used to have a beautiful guy, a flatmate, and he would sit there and we'd have these big, long, intense conversations, and then he'd go, but yesterday you said this, and I was, yeah, because and out of that conversation, I thought more, and now I think this, and there's nothing wrong with that. And he's going, yeah, but it just confuses me. But that's what it's all about. We're just a field of energy that picks up information,
That's opening to
sorts it
remember who
out,
we are. Hmm.
and then leaves behind the information that doesn't work for our field. That's it.
And I've got to say, when you said, just for clarification, when there is no right or wrong, there is no right or wrong if it comes from a place of love and compassion. That is what
Yeah.
we're changing. If it's coming from judgment and fear, and that's what we're moving away from. So when we say There is no
Yeah,
right or wrong. We're
thank
bringing
you.
that
Yes.
back to a
Mm,
new way of how we always should have been before the fear and all of that came in, that there's no right or wrong from love and compassion because our journey's our own, our energy is unique, and we all came down here for a different purpose, but
mm,
ultimately to come together to that space and remember who we are from love and compassion.
yeah, yeah. And it's all perception of what love and what our parameters of love and compassion. What is that? Um, yeah, which is exactly why there's no right or wrong, but as judgment just dissolves, judgment's only an opinion.
But if something doesn't feel good, you know that's not coming from
It's
love and
not,
compassion.
yeah,
It doesn't matter where you're at. We can make
yeah,
a statement and we can
yeah,
automatically feel within our body, if
yeah,
you're tapped in, and the more you
yeah,
do it, you will be, that
yeah,
that wasn't in resonance with your alignment or energy. So you know straight away that that isn't coming from a higher state of love or compassion or a place of love and compassion. That was coming from a lower vibrational feeling,
yeah,
word, whatever. That's how we tap in and tell, because as you said, our energy fields are all different. But if something doesn't feel good and you get that little,
that's perfect. And what a simple way of, of that, a simple way of construing that,
gauging it, yeah.
just by using the tools that we were born with, this amazing body. It's so incredible, isn't it? The feedback machine that this body is, it really is all that we need, isn't it?
When we tap into it, and for me, every day it's like, oh, that's been trying to tell me that for ages, but I didn't know what that niggling is or what that, that solar plexus thing was, or there is something constantly because, and the more you come on, because we're not just our five senses, there's something like 12 of them, but we're being closed off. And I'm not saying we're going to reach 12 in this lifetime, but what I'm saying is when you're more aware and in the moment, you are more able to gauge what your body's telling you, and it will always have your back. It's the one thing that's always with you, never lets
Oh,
you
it
down.
is. Yeah,
We
yeah.
just forget. We just think this little avatar meat suit we're wearing is just that and it's nothing else. But it's actually everything because it's got that soul in there that is all that we are. And it
Yeah.
can be that simple. We just have to find that stillness and quietness in that space of decluttering to feel
Yes.
it.
And I think that gives us, as we are decluttering all that stuff, and as you said it so well, as we are, we think we are losing our minds, or because we are not using that programming as much, um, it just makes life so much simpler, doesn't it? When we haven't got all of that clutter that we're clutching on to just in case, and that's that clutter of judgment, and even down to self-judgment. What are people going to think if I say this or do this? Or really, as you say, you can run it, whatever comes out of your mouth has to run past that intuitive gut. And if it doesn't feel right, then just don't say it.
And I'm often finding that even when I'm having a conversation and I have said something and I suddenly catch myself and go, wow, where did that come from? That is also my intuition going, that needed to be said. Now, whether it's received is up to that person that it was
Yeah.
delivered to, but sometimes it comes through without you even realizing it
Oh,
because that other
absolutely.
person was ready for that. But again, they have the choice to run with
Yeah.
whatever they did. So it's this total feedback all the time, but not judging self
Yeah.
when it's been delivered and it hasn't been
Yeah.
received. That was where that
Yeah.
cycle was happening for a while. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. No, no, that was exactly what needed to be said. Once again, with love and compassion, with
Yeah.
no harm, but
Yeah.
what came through. So,
Mm.
mm.
Yes, so perfect. So perfect. It's that feedback loop, isn't it? Because when we say what whatever we call it, what source or divine intelligence or this amazing intelligence in the field around us, when we tap into that and as you say, channel it through to whoever we are exchanging with, then there is a feedback loop because they can go, oh, I didn't like that, and walk away, which is fine. But we can go, oh, that needed to be said. If I, if I'm if I'm not cluttered with, oh, any self-judgment, then I'm not going to be able to have that, just that feedback, which says perfect. Because often it's not, we just need to get out of the way.
It's not easy though, and I think that's been one of my biggest gifts of awareness over, especially I've been aware of it probably for the last 3 years, but I haven't dealt with it very well. And I think for the last few months for me, it's been heightened to fully understand that I am an activator, I am a toner, and I trigger people. And that has been very hard for me to accept because it obviously upsets you when you trigger people or people have a go at you constantly. And but when you, as you said, when you start to understand getting out of your way that we're more than this, that perhaps we've come back to help people activate and remember who they
And I
are,
think,
it makes it a
yeah,
little bit easier. But it's a constant work for all of us. Yeah, and that's what we're
yeah.
saying. Mm.
And I think, yeah, when we let go of the
Yeah.
judgment of self-judgment, then it's like it's just something that flows through us. It's intelligence that flows through us that is being called for by whoever we're interacting with, not our business. When we can go, okay, it's not my business, then we don't get caught up, do we? And it's just freedom,
And that's
freeing.
where so much of what we've talked about before, our own self-care comes in. Because
Yeah,
if you're tired and fatigued, I know that I can take something more personally and go, oh, not again.
absolutely.
But when you're doing self-care and you're connecting basically to Mother Earth and you're doing the work and you're not educating, but you're listening to what's out there and just learning and resonating a bit more with you and having that greater understanding, you do begin to take it less personally.
Yeah,
Again, it is a part of our journey to get to that point too, because it's coming
yeah,
back to self and going, not judging self. So you're still judging yourself a little bit each time that happens, but that's part of our journey, isn't it? But self
it
care is
is.
really big on that, to be able to have the energy and the strength and the courage and be able to be in vulnerability, um, by having a strong energy field, I guess.
Yes, yeah, and a loved and cared for one. So, but yeah,
Mm.
that's a big journey as well as learning to do that. Um, I think, possibly that's why children can trigger us so easily and trigger parents so easily because they do have that capacity just to come out and just channel exactly what's going through their heads, which is great. It's great. It's
Oh,
such great,
I just see the
great
kids
teachers.
are totally different as you do with the work you do, but
Mm.
I just see the children that even come into the shop and the interactions that I have, their energy, their awareness, their inquisitive, their curiousness is on a whole new level, and I can feel that, and it I don't even have the words for it, but it's just so beautiful. And I end up having these conversations because it's really like you just want to keep the flow going. You want them to stay in it so they don't go, oh, they begin to doubt themselves as well. But they're on
Mm.
a whole new,
Oh,
their energy's just amazing.
and I think because they are so close, they're so close to that source intelligence that it takes a lot to hammer it out of them. Like when I was a girl, didn't take that much, to be programmed. These children are not going to be programmed. I just love it. I love watching them. as
But
you
look at the
say,
work we're doing. Look at the work that we've chosen to come down to, whether you call it the first wave, the second wave, the third, it doesn't matter. Everyone that's doing work at the moment is
yeah,
creating a new way for these children to be able to keep that connection to source,
yes,
the closest to
yeah,
divine. And it is challenging and it's not for the lighthearted, but that's why we started these conversations to know you're not alone. And,
yeah,
these kids, we're seeing them, then they're not losing as fast as what you said as we did when we were kids. You were totally squashed in 5 seconds where, we're nurturing this
yeah.
through all of this energy shifts and work.
Yeah, well, I think too, they're so close and that they know that the only reason why we bent to the programming is that fear of not being enough and not being loved. Whereas these children are still so connected to the loving source from where from which their souls emerged, then they stand up and go, no. I've got so many clients that just go, oh, I'd never have been able to do that to my mother. I'd never be able to stand and just turn around and go, no, that's not right for me.
I'm going
At
to
7
say,
years
though,
old.
I'm seeing an absolute, I take my hat off to some of these parents, to many of these parents, because the shift and the way that they're doing the work on themselves
Yeah,
and they're allowing that child to be an individual. And I think, for me, and where I'm at and how I can see it, which is the work you're doing, so many of these kids have been taken out of the schooling system and being homeschooled in a whole
yeah,
different way. So they are allowed to keep their uniqueness. Like there's
yeah.
so many threads to our conversation this morning, but
Mm,
I do want to honor those women and the
parents.
men, the fathers that are doing the work because they are nurturing these children to
Yeah,
be these light bearers that are going to keep that connection to source, and for the
yeah.
work that they're doing and stepping away from
Oh,
systems as
takes
well.
a lot of guts. Takes
Yep.
a lot of guts, a lot of commitment.
Yep.
And it's like, as you were saying before, it's like when when they run those questions through their intuition and through their gut, when they're watching their child not happy, not functioning well in the climate that they're in, that they're feeling that,
Yep.
but they're responding to it. And then when they make a decision, like, oh, perhaps we could look at homeschooling or a way to be involved with homeschooling, then they run that through their intuition and it feels good. And I think that's the point where they can just go, okay, I have no idea how it's going to happen, but let's make that an intention because, because this may serve the needs of my child more lovingly and abundantly. So and it's so funny because as you know, I've been doing this work with Nature Wise, and I've just been going, plodding along slowly. A week ago, I got a call from a woman who just said, I've been doing homeschooling. I did it for 7 weeks, I think, last year. It was too much for my nervous system. And so she said, so I put my child back into education, which is, she said, I've got no beef with that. My daughter doesn't feel good. She doesn't feel good. It's not giving her what she needs. So she said, I'm looking to build an education centre. So she said, will you help me? I went, all right then. So she said, I'm going away for a holiday. Now, since then, and she said, I really think we could, it would be great for so many homeschoolers. Now, I've never even I mean, I have thought a lot about homeschooling, but never in regards to NatureWise. Since then, and this has been a week, just this miraculous, and that it has been, I can't say anything else, this miraculous chain of events have just taken place to really wake me up. Like, oh, and effortless. just absolutely effortless. For example, I was looking for a woman and trying to connect with her online because she, I just thought, okay, well, how am I going to find homeschoolers here? Then
They're
I thought
everywhere.
I was looking, I was looking for a venue to run one of the programs. I thought, oh, I'll just jump down the road, and there's a beautiful nature parklands down there with everything. I pulled up there, got out of the car. I was hustling along because I wanted to have a look at this little venue. I literally banged into this woman, and oh, sorry. And I said, oh gosh, who can I talk to about this venue? And she said, oh, you can talk to me. I rent it. I'm renting it 3 times a week. And I said, oh, that's great. And then I looked at it and I said, you wouldn't by any chance be this woman that I was looking for? And she goes, yeah. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, so I introduced myself, and she said, oh my goodness. She said, I sat in on your first webinar and I've been wondering where you've been. You know what I mean? So it's like, and then that's
Yeah.
probably every 2 hours, something's been happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As I said, you can't make this stuff up. When you're aligned
you
and
can't
it's
write this
ready,
stuff.
no,
Absolutely.
and when it's ready, it just flows. And that's what happens when we get out of our way.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the parents, and that comes to every one of us, whether it's schooling or whether it's a work
Yeah.
that no longer
Whatever it
serves,
is.
whether it's
Yeah.
a relationship, whether what. We just have to get out of the comfort zone of all we've known and get into that unknown for those doors to
Oh.
open, you know, for
You know,
every one of us.
I love the one of the biggest reasons why I love doing this with you is because you are so articulate, and words just flow out of you, and they just grasp exactly what the situation demands. So thank you.
Thank you. That wasn't what our conversation earlier said, but
I know.
that's so funny.
That's the awareness that's come to me, but it's lovely. Anyway, look, let's catch up again shortly. I know we've had a little bit of a break because I don't know why, but it's, we do
Life's
the,
been chaotic. We've been doing the journey as well,
it
and
has
I
been.
know
We
I've been
are
to
doing the
ground.
journey.
We're
Yes, yes,
doing it. We're not.
yeah.
No one's untouched. So,
No
but
one,
we're back.
no one. We just learn to ride it a
Yeah.
little bit better, but right through the chaos. It's really good. It's really good. What a time to be alive.
It is, and I think that to connect now to people, and that's what we started off this, about. I don't know where I'm going or where I'm being guided, but we know that we're coming back to, and I've said it numerous times: community, unity, oneness. We do not have to do it a lot alone,
Yes.
and this is
Yeah.
where these conversations, and this is where people are coming together. You don't have to do how we've done it or how I've done it over the last 5 years.
Yes, so
You
true.
don't have to be alone. Tap into us. You know,
Yeah.
we'll put our details down below, whether it be spiritual counseling or healing or whatever, or the
Yeah.
work Margaret does. Tap in. You don't need to. Just have a conversation. Come on the podcast if you've got a story. Just come and
Yes.
talk to us.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. We'd love to invite people on to talk to us, and whatever they want to say. It's really great. So, yeah, let's start doing that. Let's start putting out there who wants to come and not even be a guest, just be a part of the conversation.
Yeah, we started off with just having a conversation. That's how we started. We just said we're going to sit down and have a conversation on how it is, let it
Yeah.
flow. What was it
Yeah.
when we weren't going to get caught up in mainstream politics? It was about just, what was the
Mm.
wording in the beginning?
Oh God.
I can't even remember.
Seems like such a long time ago. But yeah, just watching how it's evolved as well. It's been really amazing. So, oh,
Looking how
wonderful.
we've evolved, just looking back to where we were when we connected and to where we are and what's going on, it's
I
just
know.
moving so rapidly, and even what we've got coming up and where we're going and stuff, it's just like, wham, I didn't see that. Wham, it's the next one. Yeah, let's do that. It's like,
Ah,
wow.
I know. And isn't it funny because we talking about what what we're going to be doing and where we're going. We Oh, look, we'll finish the podcast and I'll talk to you after the podcast. Okay. So
But we
thank
will
you,
talk about it
everybody.
next time about our upcoming. I think we brought that in our last podcast that didn't go ahead, was our upcoming Egypt
Yes.
connection and
Yes.
Glastonbury and things, and how things were forming really quickly. But yes, we will.
Oh, we'll do that next. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because that didn't quite go as planned. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a glorious, glorious week and keep on keeping on.
Stand
Keep
in
it
your
simple.
power and trust your intuition. It will never
Absolutely.
let you down.
Thank you, Liz. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Ooh.